Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? You are listening to Locked On Game to Game NFL, local experts taking you from game to game, previewing Week 5. I'm your host, Daniella Bruce, and thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Our local experts for each team are here to tell you their keys to victory this Sunday. But first, we already have one winner on the week after Thursday Night Football. The Indianapolis Colts found a way to win without Jonathan Taylor on Thursday Night Football. Locked On Colts tells you how Indy got it done.
The Indianapolis Colts have just won a nail-biter against the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football. I am Zach Hicks of the Locked On Colts podcast, and that was certainly a football game that we all just watched. One of the ugliest games I've ever seen in my life with some of the worst offensive play, but in the end, the Indianapolis Colts did emerge victorious, and they do move to 2-2-1 on the season. Now, this is a big win for the Colts because in the NFL, all wins count the same. So it doesn't matter how ugly, it doesn't matter how beautiful. The Colts got a win, and they did move back to 500 on the year. So, the Colts got a win. That's all I could really say about this one. Thanks for checking in, everybody. For more on your Indianapolis Colts in this week's matchup, be sure to check out the Locked On Colts podcast every Monday through Friday. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The AFC South is up for grabs, with every team taking at least 2 losses through the first 4 weeks of the season. The Jags have a chance to sit at the top after the week with a win, while Houston's first win of the year would be a good start to a comeback. Our local Locked On hosts for each team tell you the key for a win on both sides.
In order for the Houston Texans to have a chance against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have to get after Trevor Lawrence early and often. I'm John Hickman, host of the Locked On Texans podcast. In the 2 games the Jacksonville Jaguars has lost so far this season, teams were able to get after Trevor Lawrence early and often. The Jaguars gave up 6 sacks and 13 hits during those 2 losses, and Trevor Lawrence was a little different every time he got up. Also, what Houston needs to do offensively to stay in this game, number 1, continue running the ball with rookie running back Dameon Pierce, but they also need to attack the Jacksonville Jaguars deep. They have been struggling mightily throughout the year, and teams are able to find some success whenever they want to go deep on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Be sure to check out the Locked On Texans podcast each and every day. Give us a follow and subscribe on YouTube as well.
The Jags have to impose their will against Houston this Sunday. I'm Tony Wiggins with the Locked On Jaguars podcast, where it's your team every day. Listen, Houston is bad, and the Jaguars have to show everyone that they are no longer in that category and in that group. Now, I know every team can beat any other team during the NFL season. We saw the Colts upset the Chiefs, but the Jaguars have a statement to make. And what they have to do is bounce back from a horrible loss where Trevor Lawrence turned the ball over 5 times in one game. Trevor Lawrence has to lead this team and play well and outplay the other quarterback from the other team. The Jaguars have to, at some point, show and prove that they can not only upset teams, but they can beat teams that they're supposed to beat when they're the favorites. And we'll see Sunday. Make sure you check me out on the Locked On Jaguars podcast every single day, because it's your team every day. And we thank you for listening.
Another team with a shot at the AFC South lead would be the Tennessee Titans, who hope the win against the Colts last week can help start a bounce back to their season. Tennessee hopes to make it 3 wins in a row, and Locked On Titans gives you the key to getting that win over the Washington Commanders.
The Tennessee Titans take on the Washington Commanders in Week 5, and the Titans' pass rush will be key to them coming out victorious. My name's Tyler Rowland, host of the Locked On Titans podcast. The Titans' pass rush is at the forefront in this game. The Commanders have allowed a league-high 17 sacks. The Titans currently have the 12th highest total of sacks on defense with 10. Can guys like Rashad Weaver, Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry get out there and get in Carson Wentz's face early? That will be key for the Titans. If you can get to Carson Wentz, you can force him to make some mistakes, which usually end up as turnovers. And if the Titans offense gets a couple of turnovers, they'll easily be able to put up the points that they need to defeat the Washington Commanders. So the pass rush is the key for the Titans in Week 5. For more analysis, make sure to check out the Locked On Titans podcast on all platforms, including the Locked On Titans YouTube channel. Locked On Titans, where it's your team every day.
Coming up, the Chargers and Browns try to get above 500, and the Jets see an opportunity at home against the Dolphins. This is Locked On Game to Game NFL. All right, here's a sports analogy for you. When it comes to burglars, your home is like the end zone, and you need the absolute strongest defense you can muster. This is why I use and trust Simply Safe Home Security. At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. It's cutting-edge technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back, so you always know your home is safe. Simply Safe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors in every room, window, and door. HD security cameras for inside and outside your home. Smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedonnfl. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game NFL. I'm Daniella Bruce, and thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Two playoff hopefuls in the AFC North battle on Sunday Night Football this week, with the Cincinnati Bengals riding a 2-game win streak into Baltimore for a matchup with the Ravens. Both Locked On Ravens and Locked On Bengals have the keys to a crucial division matchup and hopefully a win for each team.
The Baltimore Ravens must be able to stifle the Cincinnati Bengals' high-powered offense in their Week 5 divisional matchup. This is Kevin Ostreicher, the host of Locked On Ravens, and Baltimore has a big matchup with Cincinnati in Week 5. It marks their first divisional game of the 2022 season, coming in prime time on Sunday Night Football. The last time these two teams met, Baltimore gave up 525 passing yards to Joe Burrow. You even go back to 2021, the first matchup. Jamar Chase goes for 201 receiving yards. So stopping the big plays is going to be massive for this Ravens defense, especially in a secondary that has seen Marlon Humphrey play well. Marcus Peters getting into the swing of things, but has overall struggled a bit as a unit so far in 2022. So stopping the trio of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd is massive, especially with Joe Burrow throwing them that football. And if they can keep everything in front of them and no big plays, that's going to be a big key for them. On offense, though, it falls on the shoulders of, once again, Lamar Jackson. Jackson coming off his worst performance of the 2022 season against Buffalo in Week 4. Definitely in the MVP conversation still, but the offensive consistency has been a bit iffy so far through 4 weeks. The Ravens did not score a point in the second half against Buffalo. They also have to be able to get their run game going a bit more consistently outside of Jackson, as Jackson has been this entire offense so far, accounting for the majority of the yards. So Baltimore will hope to pick up a big conference win, a big divisional win against Cincinnati here in Week 5. And for more on the Ravens and the Week 5 matchup with the Bengals, be sure to follow the Locked On Ravens podcast and subscribe on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
The Bengals offense has to continue to trend in the right direction if they're going to beat the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. Hi again, everyone. I'm James Rapien from the Locked On Bengals podcast. And the Bengals, well, their offense has shown signs of life in recent weeks, posting 27 points in each of the past 2 contests. But an offense that has Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and all of these weapons, well, it's been a bit of an underwhelming start. And so if they're going to go into Baltimore and outscore a team led by Lamar Jackson that's close to averaging 30 plus points a game, of course they're going to have to slow down Lamar and company. But the offense, it's going to have to do its part and maybe carry this team to their first win of the season where the defense hasn't dominated. For more on this matchup, make sure you listen to the Locked On Bengals podcast wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
What would have been a revenge game for Mitchell Trubisky instead turns into the first start of Kenny Pickett's career for the Steelers. It comes against one of the best defense in football in the Buffalo Bills. Both our local hosts tell you how their team gets a win and what Vegas says will be the most lopsided matchup of the week.
I'm Chris Carter of the Locked On Steelers podcast, and here are your Steelers keys to Week 5 against the Buffalo Bills. The Steelers pulled off the upset against the Buffalo Bills last year in Buffalo, but this year they are 14-point underdogs, the first time in franchise history since 1970, the NFL merger, that they were 14-point underdogs heading into a game. But when they're going against the Bills, everyone's going to be looking at Kenny Pickett getting his first NFL start. And a lot of people are going to look for points. But the biggest thing that Kenny Pickett needs to do in this game is keep drives alive. The Steelers right now have the second worst time of possession in the NFL, second only to the Carolina Panthers. They average 25 minutes and 42 seconds of possessing the ball per game. Compare that to the top of the league with the Cleveland Browns with 35 minutes and 38 seconds, and you can see there's a problem there that the Steelers are facing. Their defense is getting tired out, and it's not allowing their offense many other chances to keep drives alive. In addition, when you look at the average time, they're averaging only 2 minutes and 19 seconds per drive on the field. Part of that has been failures on third downs. Right now, they're at 37.3% on third downs, ranking 20th in the league. But Kenny Pickett, after Mitch Trubisky went 1 for 6 on third downs last week, came in and went 5 for 6 last week and converted the one time he missed on third down on fourth down. The hope for the Steelers is that he keeps the offense on the field, takes what's there, and makes enough plays to keep the offense sustained drives on the field, to hope that the Steelers defense cannot be on the field as long and get them rest so that they can be healthy in the fourth quarter. Hasn't been that for the Steelers for a while since they beat the Bengals in week 1.
The Buffalo Bills are set to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and rookie quarterback Kenny Pickett making his NFL debut on Sunday. And in order for Buffalo to win, they need to make the rookie look like a rookie. I'm Joe Marino, host of the Locked On Bills podcast. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin has seen enough of Mitchell Trubisky and decided now is the time for Kenny Pickett to take over as the starting quarterback. Pickett's first start comes against an elite Buffalo defense in the Bills' first home game since week 2. And rookie quarterbacks haven't been successful against Sean McDermott defenses. In 10 starts, rookie quarterbacks have a completion percentage of 57%, are averaging 165 passing yards per game, and have just 5 touchdowns compared to 15 interceptions. And it's not just rookies that struggle against the Bills' pass defense. It's all quarterbacks. This year so far, the Bills are only allowing a passer rating of 64.7 against their coverage and 2.7 adjusted net yards per attempt. Meanwhile, the Bills have the lowest blitz rate in the NFL, but have the highest sack rate at 10.2% in the AFC and number 2 in the NFL. This is a tough ask for Kenny Pickett, and I expect the Bills to do everything they can to make his head spin. For more on your Buffalo Bills, be sure to check out the Locked On Bills podcast every Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Chargers and Browns both sit at 500 after 4 weeks, with LA bringing the number 1 passing offense in the league to Cleveland to try and get back above water in week 5. Locked On Chargers and Locked On Browns tell you what each team needs to do to win on Sunday.
The Los Angeles Chargers open up week 5 on the road in Cleveland against the Browns, and expect the Browns to run the ball a lot. This is David Drogemeyer of the Locked On Chargers podcast. Your keys for success is to sell out, stop the run. The Browns run the ball more than they pass the ball, and it's one of the few teams in the league that do that. But when you have guys like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt running the football, you would give them the ball a lot too. Kareem Hunt is averaging 4.3 yards per carry. Nick Chubb is averaging 5.7 yards per carry. And the Chargers have given up 5.4 yards per carry, so they're going to run the ball. The Chargers need to sell out to stop it. On offense, the key for success here is to let Herbie cook. Let him attack down the field on those early downs, get the offense going, keep those chains moving, and try to isolate safety Grant Delpit in one-on-one coverage. He's given up 8 receptions on 9 targets for 184 yards this season. But for more on this game and for more on the Chargers, please check out Locked On Chargers, your team every day.
This is Jeff Lloyd, host of the Locked On Browns podcast, with your Browns' biggest need to acquire a victory Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Browns have had weeks where they were strong in the passing game. They have had weeks where the secondary played well, like last week against Atlanta. They've had weeks where they were able to stop the run, not like last week against Atlanta. This Browns team needs to find consistency. The offense needs to be able to mesh the passing game and the running game. The defense, which will be healthier this week, looks like Tavon Bryant, Myles Garrett will be back, need to be able to stop the run, rush the passer, and have the secondary contain coverage with no blown assignments. If the Cleveland Browns team can do this, they're capable of beating anybody in the NFL. I am Jeff Lloyd, host of the Locked On Browns podcast. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, and of course now on the Roku app.
The New York Jets just got their quarterback back from injury, while the Dolphins will play their first full game without Tua, who remains in concussion protocol. Locked On Jets explains how New York can try to take advantage and get a win at home this week.
The New York Jets must contain Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to beat the Miami Dolphins on Sunday. I'm John, the host of Locked On Jets, and the Jets open up divisional play this week against the Miami Dolphins. Their first 4 weeks were against the 4 teams in the AFC North. Finally, they take on the AFC East. It's a home game, but the Jets are underdogs against a Miami team that has explosive playmakers on offense. Miami will be without starting quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Teddy Bridgewater will start in his place, and it's going to be up to the Jets' defense, particularly the corners, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, to contain Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Both Miami receivers have blazing speed. Both of them are a threat to score from anywhere on the field. Both of them have the ability to make game-changing plays. If the Jets keep them under control and limit the big plays, they will have a chance to get their first AFC East win since 2019. For more on your New York Jets and this weekend's big matchup, be sure to check out the Locked On Jets podcast every Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's all today for Locked On Game to Game NFL. Thanks for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, make your next listen your team's Locked On podcast. I'm Daniella Bruce, and this has been Locked On Game to Game.